You know the vibes. Welcome back to another episode of the Hoop Juniors podcast, brought to you by NBA 2K24. It's myself, Momentzy, with me again, GM extraordinaire, Mr. Scott Perry, and a man who was trying to run from this podcast because he didn't show up to the last one. Today, me and Scott sat here. I'm calling him. He ain't picking up the phone. He's ducking the smoke. Man who thought the Dallas Mavericks had it all figured out. This is Mr. BJ Armstrong. Welcome back, BJ.
Yeah, you right. You got to give the Celtics credit. Give you credit. It's been phenomenal play defensively. Hey, the guard play at the guard position on the defensive end, Scott, has been just simply amazing. I mean, it's textbook what they've been able to do. And your Celtics, not my Celtics, your Celtics.
No. Our Celtics.
Oh, it's our Celtics. Okay.
You guys always talk to me about defense, and I only see one team playing good defense out there. So now they're our Celtics. You have to adopt them too.
You know how good Mo is feeling because when he comes with the vibes, he let that vibe go. He said the vibe. It was a little long. It was a little longer, Jay, today.
Oh.
We're in for something special today.
Well, the job's not finished.
Hey, but real to add something you said though, Jay. Back to my coaching days and your playing days, one of the things that used to always put up on the board, defend, rebound, share the basketball.
Yes.
And man, the Celtics have been doing that in all three games, but it was really something special to watch tonight on the road. They really defended, rebound, and they shared that ball, and that made a huge difference especially against a weaker defensive team like Dallas has been this series. They can't keep up with that movement of the ball, and it's been something to watch.
Well, before we break down the game, we have to start on a more serious note, though. We lost a legend of the NBA community today, so I feel like it's only right we begin by offering our condolences to the family of Mr. Jerry West.
Yes.
And I figured that you two obviously know Jerry a lot better than I do, so I figured I would leave it to you guys to say a few words.
BJ, I know you've known Jerry a lot longer than me. I'm gonna let you start.
Yeah, I got to know Jerry over the years in my playing days, and he was the logo, and I've watched him from afar. My dad, Scott knows my dad was a huge admirer of Jerry West, and then to have the opportunity to meet him and befriend him over the years, and his playing career speaks for itself. His career as an executive, I think he's won 9 championships altogether, 8 or 9.
Yeah, put together 8
championships. Speaks for itself. But every time you would talk to Jerry, he always had something to say. He definitely, he had his ways and his views of the game, and he was always willing to share with you about the game. And there's one thing I can always say is we've had some phenomenal discussions. And I remember him telling me about this young player, and actually the other guy who told me about this young player was Scott Perry. And I remember listening to Jerry talk about this young kid out of Philadelphia. And I remember him just sharing and going on about it. He's going through the process. Kobe and I, we shared the same agent. And I can just remember the passion in his voice about the game, about his love for players. And he was around this game literally his entire life and what he's meant to this game. So I had an opportunity to have dinner with his family and his kids. We got to know his kids. They both work in the business as executives currently in the business now. So condolences to his family. It was an honor to have the opportunity to, get the chance to know him and have and share experiences with him, share life with him. And we're going to miss him. And he's meant so much to this game. He's meant so much to so many people. So, my best to him and his family as he transitions on in life.
Well, I just want to add, going back to my first memories of basketball. I mean, when I first started watching basketball, that I can remember, 7, 8 years old, Jerry West was always there. So my entire lifetime, Jerry West has been part of basketball. I watched him as a tremendous player, really enjoyed watching him, his competitive fire. He could really shoot the basketball. He played both sides. He defended well. So you learned a lot watching him play as a young kid. And then as I got older and watched him from afar put together teams. And once I got into the NBA in the front office, I got an opportunity to meet him on a few occasions. He was always kind enough to spend a little time, drop a little knowledge with with me, and just pick his brain a little bit. Now, every time I left him, I felt like I learned something, and I felt a little more enriched from a basketball perspective. And so my prayers are definitely with his family. Come to know his sons, in particular, Ryan. I know this is a difficult time for them.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Prayers and condolences to them. And like BJ said, he's going to be greatly missed, but he did so much while he was here. He's got a legacy that's going to last lifetime. So whenever, if you're reading about basketball 100 years from now, you're going to be reading about Jerry West. People who are on this earth at that time will be reading about Jerry West. So he definitely left an indelible mark on the game and on so many people that he encountered and touched.
Mo, one of the I want to share this with you, Mo. You hear me always say things like roster construction. And I learned that from Jerry West when I was a young executive. And he would always say, thoroughbreds have to be with other thoroughbreds, and the quarter horses have to be with the quarter horses. And when you're constructing, and he would always say that constructing teams where they play at a tempo and a speed and a pace of the game. And he would always say that. And I always had a pet peeve as an executive, and it drives me crazy now as an agent, is when you call someone for them not to call you back.
Oh yeah.
So I take great pride. If someone calls me, I don't care what I have going, I'm going to find a way to call you back. That's kind of my pet peeve. And I can say this, in all my years in this business, Jerry West always called me back. I don't care what was going on. I've called him days of drafts when I was working there in Chicago. As an agent, I've called him, and he's always called me back. And I always respected that about him. Because, Scott, you and I have heard every excuse. Oh, my bad. I didn't call you back for whatever the reason. No. I was swamped. They got away from me. All of the stuff. Jerry always. So I always felt a connection with him because I always knew that he might have not told me what I wanted to hear, but he always got back to me.
Right.
As an agent or an executive. And I always respected it, and I always appreciated that particular thing about him.
That's called giving respect and being professional.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, I didn't want to say it that.
Exactly. Yeah. No,
I always respected that.
I'm with you. Yeah. No, I'm with you there, and that's huge, and that's not as commonplace as many would think. So.
Yes.
Well, for any of the newer fans who don't really know much about Jerry West, he is the logo of the NBA. He was an NBA champion, the only player to win Finals MVP on a losing team. He was an all-star every year he was in the league, but he was also an amazing executive. As BJ mentioned earlier, he's the one who saw the talent in Kobe Bryant, and that same week that he drafted Kobe Bryant or traded Vlade Divac for Kobe Bryant, he also got Shaquille O'Neal to sign with the Lakers. He was an amazing executive. He was an 8-time champion as an executive. He put together the Showtime Lakers, obviously that Kobe and Shaq Lakers team, but then also the Golden State Warriors. We watch the NBA Finals right now, and Bob Myers sits on ESPN taking credit for being the architect of that Warriors team, but really that was all Jerry West. Jerry West said that he would quit his job with the Warriors if they traded Klay Thompson for Kevin Love, which is what the Warriors wanted to do at the time. He's responsible for identifying players like Draymond Green in the draft, and he's really a basketball genius. So salute to the late, great Jerry West. Thoughts and prayers with his family. But, you know, BJ, all these talk about roster construction, you saw it on display tonight with the Boston Celtics.
Yep.
Although they did give me a heart attack in the fourth quarter. You know the quote from Shaquille O'Neal? You can't fool me. I'm familiar with your game. I was talking to our community in the Discord server that we have. The link's in the description if you want to join it. And at the end of the third, the Celtics were up 20 points, and everyone's like, I'm going to bed. This game's done. I said, hey. If I know one thing about the Celtics, they're going to take their foot off the gas. And that's exactly what they did, because within, 4 minutes, it was a 3-point game. The Mavs went on a 20-2 run, but they couldn't get it done down the stretch. What are the key things that jumped out to you about this game?
Well, we talked about it a little bit earlier. The Boston Celtics they epitomized, the three most important things for me in the game, and that's defending, rebounding, and sharing that basketball. They did it so effectively tonight. Jason Tatum, led by him in the first half. Dallas came out with tremendous energy, like you knew they would, coming home, but they weathered that storm, and the discipline that that Boston team was able to play with after getting down a little, they get down by 8 early, but it was because they defended, they really shared the ball, made the extra pass, and they continue to do what they've been doing all series. They attacked the lane off the bounce, and Dallas has not been able to deal with that penetration. And that's what this series has really come down to me, their inability to keep all of the Celtics players out the lane. It's not just Tatum and Brown. Derek White gets in there. Drew Holiday gets in there. Heck, Al Horford can shot fake and get in there. Porzingis the first couple games did not take. I saw Sam Hauser, even though he came in and made big threes today, he got in the lane. So that kickstarts everything for that Celtics team, because it forces Dallas to get into heavy rotations, and they're not very good at that as well either. We talked about this after game 2, Mo. Luka's inability or lack of commitment to really make consecutive defensive plays was on display. Kyrie was great offensively tonight, but he took a step backwards defensively. So those were my initial takes on the game tonight. I thought Boston, you got to give them tremendous credit for playing a real team game, and your two superstars played. But Jason Tatum carried the first half. Jaylen Brown carries the second half, and you go home tonight up 3-0, needing just one win, Mo, for you to be in Boston. And I don't know what street they had the parade on, Mo, but you'll figure it out.
Yeah, they have the boat going down the river. And
exactly.
They got the duck boat going down the river. Listen, the Mavs got up early, 25-12, and then there was a couple possessions that stood out to me where Luka Doncic shot back-to-back threes where he was trying to draw the foul, and he kind of hit the ground after the threes, and then would complain to the referees, and the shots missed, and the Celtics had 5-on-4s going back, and that's what helped the Celtics get back into the game. And then, as great as Luka is, he finished with 27, 6 and 6. He really struggled in the second half here, because at halftime he had 17, 3 and 3. And then in the fourth quarter, he only had 2 points. The Celtics really keyed in on him and closed him down the stretch. Kyrie Irving got going, but the big talking point going into this game was no Kristaps Porzingis. Porzingis was ruled out for this game by the Celtics, and Al Horford stepped up. He played 37 minutes. He gave them good contributions, but Xavier Tillman off the bench, his isolation defense when he got switched on to Kyrie and Luka Doncic was amazing. Same with Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard. BJ, all season long, you've been concerned about the Celtics' depth, but they found 3 guys to come in off the bench and play defense as role players that I don't think that there are many other role players that could have played better than they did tonight. When you look around the rest of the league at who guys have coming off their bench, they were locked in. They were playing good, clean defense without fouling. Sam Hauser was huge. He hit 3 threes in a row to kind of get the Celtics on that run. And Peyton Pritchard as well, guarding Kyrie Irving, guarding Luka Doncic. He's not the biggest guy, but he did his part to stay locked in. And as Scott said, just one win away. I don't want to get ahead of myself. So, BJ, what did you see from this? Obviously, Tatum Brown had 30 and 30, 31 and 30. But what was your take on this?
Well, a couple things. You know, Scott touched on it. You got to defend, rebound, and pass the ball. And what the Celtics displayed here is, as you know, there's a difference in how you win and you play at home, and then how you have to win and play on the road. Well, I want to give the Celtics credit. They came out with a level of discipline that they weathered the storm early in this game. To me, that just showed the maturity of the team, Mo, that you and I covered just a couple years ago. Yep. They didn't panic. I was reminded of Scott's comments, and I think we all agreed that Jason Tatum was going to, if they're going to win this series, he's going to have to score more than 16 points. I think he had after game one.
Yes, exactly.
Remember that? I was reminded of that in the first half. I said, well, Jason Tatum, clearly he's listening to the podcast. Okay, so he just wanted to remind everybody I'm still here.
Jumpman family right there. Shout out to JT.
And I had a moment, Mo. I had a moment during the game. I was counting the turnovers.
Yep.
And they only had like 9 turnovers. And I said, you know what? That was Mo's big theme in the NBA Finals with the Celtics a couple years ago. This team played with a lot of discipline. They played with purpose on the road. As you know, that's difficult to do because they came out with a lot of energy, talking about the Dallas Mavericks. And Drew Holiday didn't have one single turnover, which to me, when you say focus, locked in, or however you want to call it, that's just letting you know that, you know, he took the game from the whiteboard or from the computer to the floor.
Yeah, showing your age, BJ.
Exactly.
Yes. So I was just really impressed with how they played. And you know what? I want to say this, Joe Mazzulla.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, I want to say that because we were singing Jason Kidd's praise because he's very deserving. But I'm going to say this about Joe Mazzulla. Coach Joe Mazzulla, has really done. He has the pulse of his team.
Yes.
And I'm going to say this: when I start seeing coaches get the ball to their best player in an operating area with an opportunity to score or pass to the other 4 players. Now you are really displaying a level of understanding about your team and how to win. What he has done with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and be able to utilize these guys in the framework of their team and how they play, it's been phenomenal to watch him in these finals. He is really locked into his team right now. And we should give him credit because, you know, there's been a lot of things over the last couple of years, right? And he's a young guy. Every time I look at him, I always think Al Horford's old. Al Horford's older than him, right? I don't know why I always think of that when I'm watching him.
Yeah,
but Coach Mazzulla, your job's not, the job's not done. But these first 3 games, he's pushed all the right buttons, Scott. And and when you see that, hey, you know his team has responded.
We talked so much about growth in players, and we've talked both about Brown and Tatum, but you're seeing growth in the coach right in front of our eyes too during the finals.
Yes, you are.
And you got to give him the credit for that.
Yes, you do.
And he's done a good job, even with his timeouts. You know, tonight, what looked like Dallas was trying to get back in it. Boom, timeout.
Dallas started 9-2. He called a timeout straight away.
Yeah, and he got a timeout early in the game to settle his team down, and that's what your team needs,
right?
Especially on the road like that.
Yep.
And so no, I give him a lot of credit for what he's done. And to your point, job is not done yet, and that's going to be the toughest thing for this team to fight off. That they need one more game to cross the finish line, and that's going to be the hardest game to get.
Well, BJ, talking about the Celtics not being rattled when the Mavs came out hot or when they made a run to get back into the game, Joe Mazzulla has some very unconventional coaching techniques. He showed his team videos of UFC fighters being choked to show how they respond when they're under pressure. He speaks with the Manchester City coach Pep Guardiola and discusses the tactics from football because Man City have been dominating the Premier League over here and how that can be applied to the NBA. So credit to Joe Mazzulla. He's a little bit outside of the box, but so far he's doing a pretty good job.
No.
I get. Hey, listen, they got to win one more. They got to win one more.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say. They got to win one more. And it's interesting. Like the Celtics do this thing that really irritates me is they're playing this amazing drive and kick basketball, and you've got this 20-point lead going into the fourth quarter, and then you stop doing it. And all of a sudden, the Mavs are back in the game. And luckily for the Celtics, Luka fouls out with 4 minutes to go. What did you guys think about that? Luka Doncic fouling out with 4 minutes to go in this game.
Well, leading up to that point, when Dallas closed the gap back, let's give Kyrie Irving. He had a lot of criticism the first 2 games and not playing up to Kyrie standards. But man, he was tough tonight, and he made a lot of tough shots to keep the team in the game, help them get the lead, and help really bring them back to give them a shot to win down the stretch. Look, they've been attacking Luka the whole series. And that's, I think, just catching up to him. That's why I had no problem with that last call, because it was a foul. You had to call something. I think
there was a call like a minute before as well that they didn't give.
Right. But, the officiating crew, that I've noticed what they're trying to do, if the player's not getting such an advantage, like if Jaylen Brown hadn't fallen down and could have kept going to the basket, they probably don't even blow the whistle then on something like that. Just like we've seen a number of plays. Jason Tatum had a dunk in the second half. He was clearly fouled, but because he didn't get knocked over, they didn't want to give a foul to, I think it was PJ Washington, who was on that. I've seen that a lot during the playoffs. They're letting a lot of the contact go. Look, Luka, that's the one area of his game that we talked about. He's got to get better defensively. If he wants to be a champion, that means he's got to get in good enough shape to play both sides of the ball, and he's got to figure out what he can do and where he can do in terms of impacting the game on the defensive side. Again, I'm not asking him to be the best defender on the team, but he also can't damage the integrity of the team defense. And too many times in this game, you see, if Luka gets beat, then he just stands and watches. Ball gets swung. He's not even rotating. He's just watching the action. So that's what I see in with him. He's got to take that next step. We talked about Jason Tatum and Brown maturing, and that's showing how it is in the finals. But next year, that's Luka's next step as a player. His maturity level, not to be so engaged and worried about what the officials are doing and not doing, and really focus in on how he can be a more consistent team defender for his Dallas Mavericks ball club.
I think Kyrie Irving as well, because there were often times where Kyrie looked lost on the defensive side of the basketball during this game. And what's interesting here is we all say, role players play better at home. And I think PJ Washington played better. He made more plays for his teammates. He knocked down some of his shots, but Derrick Jones Jr. has really struggled in this series. So Jason Kidd went to Tim Hardaway Jr. off the bench. He gave him 19 minutes where he was 0 from 5 from the field, 0 from 3 from downtown, no assists. It's tough right now because we talked about the Celtics depth being a concern, but when you look at the depth of the Mavericks outside of Luka and Kyrie, Derek Lively had it going tonight because obviously no Porzingis protecting the rim, so he could get more opportunities inside. But Derrick Jones Jr. struggled. Jaden Hardy's been playing a little bit out of control, and you kind of expect that from a young player in their first finals. Maxi Kleber, I don't know how much his injury is still bothering him because he just does not look to score at any time. You can see Luka Doncic trying to force him to score at some points. Dante Exum had like a really nice 2-minute stretch and then didn't really get back into the game, and I don't know why. And then they gave Josh Green 22 minutes off the bench as well, and he scored 1 basket. So I don't really know where Jason Kidd's going to go with this rotation. How would you guys play it if you put your coaching hat on? How are you managing this rotation? Because it's not often we see a team go, 11 guys deep in an NBA Finals game.
No, that's true. But look, I've been surprised that Tim Hardaway was out of the rotation again, but I'm not there every day to know why.
He's not had a great year.
No, I understand that, but and I know this is his first finals as well, but he's a veteran player. He's been around, and I know that he can be very streaky. I worked with Tim in New York for a few years. Really liking, hardworking guy, confident guy, and he was a little out of sync tonight, but this was really his first action within a couple series, and now it's in the finals. So he's trying to really kind of figure it out and get reintroduced to his teammates, I think, a little bit. So he looks a little out of sync right now offensively, but I would be trying to go back to him because knowing the streaky nature of Tim, he was 0 for 5 tonight. He could be the next game. He can come back 5 for 5 easily. Because he has that kind of confidence in his shot, and he just needs to get enough minutes to be able to do that. Because I don't know where else you turn if you're the Dallas, it's the Dallas team in terms of getting some scoring off the bench.
BJ, what do you think?
Well, whenever you get into the NBA finals, I'm always reminded of, the couple times that I was fortunate enough to play. And our coaches always reminded us, you have to be cool, you got to be calm, and you have to be connected. And up until this series, the Dallas Mavericks, they've lost the first game, I think, in every series.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But they've been cool and calm under duress.
Yes.
Tonight was the first night it looked like they weren't connected. They looked like a group of individual players, but they didn't look connected like the Boston Celtics. The Celtics were cool. The Celtics got down early, and they played with a level of confidence that you're saying, these guys are ready. Okay. It's like they've been there before, I just think right now, if you're the Dallas Mavericks, you just got to figure out how to play against. I think the Celtics have better athletes. They have bigger, stronger athletes, perhaps at every position. Okay. Certainly the guards and the size disparity between, Derek White and those guys, it's bothering Kyrie because he's not finishing with the same, accuracy that he normally does. Jaylen Brown is clearly the best athlete probably on the floor.
Yes.
Okay. He's shown that. He's Jason, and we always forget until when you stand next to Jason Tatum's voice, he's got to be 6'10". But he is
I'll tell you this though. Jason Tatum and Luka Doncic are down there the same height.
Yeah, as I'm saying, and that's it. But the Celtics right now are connected, they're focused, and they're playing. I mean, when Scott said it, when you see growth in a team, okay, they've really grown from the last time we saw them in the NBA Finals. This team has really grown. They've really taken some steps.
Their best players were 24 and 25 when they were in their first NBA Finals. And this is what I tried to tell everyone. They were saying, you should split them up. This team's never going to win. And it's like, come on, guys, what were you expecting here? They're going up against the best shooter of all time. Now, a couple years later, they got more experience under their belt, and you're seeing the results.
Yeah.
And they can play through tough. No, I was going to say they can play through tough stretches now. So with so much more confident. I mentioned this the other day, BJ. Jason Tatum, I think he's played really well this season, even though he hasn't shot a great percentage.
Yes.
But he stayed aggressive. He's attacking. He's making the right basketball plays. The help comes. He's finding the open man. He's rebounding. He's defending. He's playing winning basketball. He's not getting caught up to the officials anymore. He is just playing through the ups and downs, ebbs and flows of a game. And that's maturity.
Yes.
That's maturity. And you can see it. Same with Jaylen Brown. And they're not caring about who is considered the best player and all that nonsense now. I heard Shaq say that a couple of days ago. Those are useless titles. Who's the best player? It's about winning the championship.
Well, what are we going to talk about? What are we supposed to talk about? We can't talk about the game, Mo. Mo, that's
so here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to follow the ESPN playbook. I'm sorry, Scott. I'm always telling on your colleagues. We're going to talk about who's the best player on the Celtics, and then we're going to talk about LeBron for about an hour, and then we'll do 5 minutes on Caitlin Clark, and then we'll try and push our on-air talent as if they're real celebrities and be Stephen A's walk into the game in this stupid-looking suit.
I'm going to reel you back in, Bob. I'm going to reel you back in.
Yeah, Mo said too much. Hey, Mo. Is that...
Come on, Mo. Let's enjoy
Mo,
going game 3.
No, Mo, we're gonna get you a green suit like Stephen A. So you can wear that. You can wear that to the parade. You know, Stephen A. shop. I'm gonna get you hooked up with him. He'll put you together and get you looking right, and then put a little leprechaun on that suit when you're walking down the.
I'll be looking like Lucky the mascot. I mean, here's one thing I really like from Jaylen Brown that he said the other day. He said, "I'm at the point in my life where I just don't give a F. I might never get the credit and respect, and I'm okay with that because the whole world was calling him overpaid, overrated, and now he's out here with a good chance to win Finals MVP. And I just think this Celtics team's ability to block out the noise from outside when they're saying who's the best player on the team, they should trade such and such, they should break up these two, they're not going to win, X, Y, Z, oh, they've not got Porzingis, they're going to lose. To be able to block out all of that noise and do what they have to do on a nightly basis. Because this is the other thing about the NBA Finals is like, everyone says the Celtics had an easy route, They were crushing teams all season long. The only team who looked like they would actually beat the Celtics in a 7-game series was the Denver Nuggets. And Minnesota took care of them. And it's a weird thing where the Timberwolves beat the Nuggets, but the Nuggets would have probably beaten the Mavericks, and the Mavericks beat the Timberwolves. But so we're never going to know. But the Celtics have blocked out the noise. And here they are, 1 win away from the NBA championship.
Yes, they have.
BJ, what was that like when you were a player and you had the whole media go in and creating? I don't know if back then the media created narratives like this, but what was that like trying to? Did you guys in the locker room pay attention to that, or did you kind of ignore it?
Well, the one thing that you come to realize, which is so underrated, is undervalued until it happens to you, is the team has to have the ability to police and hold that locker room sacred. Okay. It really becomes a championship team, really becomes us versus everyone else. And the everyone else is anyone that's trying to detract away from the people that are in that sacred space, which is the locker room. More than anything about the Celtics over the last year or two is they've really, especially this year, they've done a phenomenal job. Their locker room has been unbelievable. They've really done a nice job. And that's always a characteristic of a championship caliber team, is your ability to say, okay, that's what you guys are talking about. That's the business of basketball. And then there's the basketball business. And they've done an exceptional job this year with this group. Their leadership, okay? Jaylen Brown, for instance, in a weird way, he's stepped up and he's kind of the emotional leader of the team when Marcus Smart left in a weird way. Mm-hmm. I don't recall him ever talking this much, but when he did, the little audio thing that they do with the with the mic'd up.
Yes.
I don't know Jaylen Brown well, but I just didn't recall him talking this much. And to watch him blossom now with his leadership and what he's doing, he's really kind of grown in that area. And that, to me, it's interesting because you never know when these young people are going to, get it. When I say get it, they're going to take, we keep saying what people need to grow. That trade for Marcus Smart gave him an opportunity to grow into a space that I don't know if he feels more responsibility or accountability, but he is playing with a level of ownership to the group that I hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
And I respect that. You never know what's going to happen, because I thought Marcus Smart was terrific for them as far as his emotional, what he brought to the team. But in a weird way, Jaylen Brown stepped into that space and he does it in a different way. And it's really helped his game. And more importantly, I just think he's really taking responsibility. I don't know this to be true, but him and Drew Holiday seem to have something going on with them that they take pride on the defensive end.
I think also Al Horford is a huge leader. They never put the mic on his uniform, but oftentimes when you see that, because I watch every game that this team plays, when you see kind of like the cutscenes in the timeouts when they're just like coming back from commercial, oftentimes it's Al Horford leading that huddle with the players around.
He's the
him.
oldest guy in the organization. What do you expect?
Yeah.
But what I mean to say is,
Al could be a player coach on this team, like they used to have back in the day.
Is this though, right? Al Horford has been with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum since they got into the league. And then he got traded away, and Brad Stevens, the first move he made when he became GM of his team was to get Al Horford back. And not just the off-court leadership, you saw on-court. The whole build-up to this finals, people were saying, oh, when Al Horford gets switched on to Luka and Kyrie, he's been holding his own. I'm not saying he's stopping them, but he's doing better than full-time defensive player Rudy Gobert did. That's what I'm saying.
They have a good point. They have a terrific game plan.
Yeah, and you know the other growth I see, and I don't know this for sure, but just on appearance, the relationship between Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum has grown. You see them pulling for one another. You see them pointing at one another after receiving a good, one has received a pass from the other or made a good play. I mean, like tonight when Jaylen Brown went down and had that powerful dunk in front of the away from the Celtics bench, Jason Tatum was one of the first guys up, dapping the teammates, and that's big. That's a growth. And one other thing I was going to bring up, I was going to ask BJ about this when you're talking about locking out the noise on your way to trying to win your first title. I can remember, but BJ obviously lived it better. But I was going to the games. There was a lot of noise around that Bulls Pistons series about the physicality. Can the Bulls get over the hump with the physicality? How did you guys deal with that and attacking that?
Well,
to get to the finals, make it to your first finals.
Like every team has obstacles and things that they have to overcome, right? And today's rhetoric, it's everyone's the greatest of all time, right? This is the greatest team. This is the greatest shooter. This is the greatest rebounder. Everyone's the greatest of all time. But as a competitor, you find the weakness of every opponent that you play against, every team, and you target it. And if there was a weakness with our team, an unanswered question that we needed to answer was, how were we going to meet not just the physical presence of the Pistons? For us, Scott, the one thing that we had to address as a team, were we mentally tough enough to maintain our composure at those moments of truth? When Dennis Rodman and Bill Laimbeer would just whack you for no reason at all, were you going to lose it? Or were you going to gain your composure and stay in the game? So as much as we talk about the physical part of the game, which is a part of it, the mental toughness that's necessary. You saw it tonight with the Celtics.
No question.
Mentally, they displayed a level of toughness in that first quarter that I said, oh, that's what a champion looks like. They took the punch, recovered from the punch, and say, okay, is that all you got? Now let's play. And when they did that, I thought that put the Mavericks on their heels.
No question.
Because they came out with energy, they came out with effort. So how did we do it, Scott? We had to prove it to ourselves that no matter what was going to happen in the game, they were not going to get us distracted. They were going to push us down. They were going to play physical. They were going to do whatever they had to do. But we had to come there and maintain our composure. And we had to come there and maintain our focus and play basketball no matter what was going on. So that's what we did. We answered that question, and then we advanced and we went on. And once you know you can do it, now it's about saying, I can bring this every single night, no matter what.
And see, that's what you described. That's why I asked you, because I see that in Boston.
Yes, you see it. Yes.
You see it in Boston now.
Yes.
You see it.
I want to go back to what Scott said about Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown's relationship. And I think what people often forget is just because you don't see stuff in the media, it doesn't mean things aren't going on. Now, a lot of, duos who are good friends, they do a lot of stuff in the media, like Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson have their little podcast together. And, Lowry and DeRozan would always do their post-game interviews together and stuff. Just because Tatum and Brown don't do that kind of stuff in front of the cameras, it doesn't mean that if you actually know them, they're not real good friends off the cameras, right? So I think a lot of it is just the media just trying to create narratives and headlines and have something to talk about because they're allergic to talking about the actual game. But we're talking about right now, what are they now? 26 and 27? A duo
Yes.
who's one win away from their first championship after going to Jaylen Brown's been to 6 conference finals in the last 8 years. This is their second NBA finals in 3 years. That's what the conversation should be around. Is when have we last seen a duo at this age together achieve this level of success if they can get it done over the next few games?
You know what I think is really cool about their relationship is neither one of them yet has had to answer this question. They need help.
Oh,
they
said,
you know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, Scott, like, you know, like every star player goes through that, you know, well, he needs help, you know, or,
Yeah,
I remember when I first came to the Bulls, it was Jordan and the Jordanaires, you know, he
Yes,
needs help,
exactly.
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then,
Right.
you know, you see it with today's star, oh, this guy needs help. Well,
yes.
those two, they've never had to answer that question.
That's true.
And I think that's really cool is that they've had to find a way to integrate their talent into the framework of the team. And to me, that is like the most difficult because every great player has had to figure that out. And they've had to figure it out together, which to me has been like, it's probably much more difficult because they both in their own right, they're great offensive players, but they've had to kind of figure this out and do it together. And they have. So give those guys credit for doing it.
And think about all the different variations that they play through. They played with the Isaiah Thomas led Celtics, and then they got Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving. Then Gordon Hayward gets injured in his first game, and it's with Kyrie Irving. Then Kyrie Irving leaves. They go and get Kemba Walker, and then Kemba Walker, his knees are done. Then you've got the Ime Udoka team, and then now you have this version of the squad. And the thing that I respect most about these two guys is that they can play with anyone. A lot of players have, even superstar players, have a thing where they can only play a certain style of basketball. There's certain superstars who need the team to be built around them. But these guys have proven that whoever else is out on the court with them, they can do what's necessary to win games with that group. Because every single season, they're a winning franchise unless there's a major injury. So, you know, it's not like they need the help. Like when you think about really Jason Tatum, what's the weakness in his game? Like we start nitpicking stuff. It's not that he's a bad defender. It's not that he's a bad passer or a bad scorer. It's like you're nitpicking for stuff. What's the weakness in Jaylen Brown's game? They say he can't dribble and go left. Well, he iced the game 2 with a left-handed layup. So because they're so versatile in the way that they can play, it's afforded them to be able to be out there on the court and make major contributions in deep postseason runs every single season they've been in the league.
The beauty of those players, you draft players both with the number 3 pick that high. Every year, not only have they improved a skill in their game, whether it be ball handling, shooting, passing, getting stronger, they've done something each year to get better from a physical standpoint. And then to BJ's point, each year they've mentally grown. And now when you see them now, they're fully formed NBA players on the cusp of becoming champions. And we've watched their journey, and it's been a really good thing to watch. And a lot of credit goes to a lot of people. You start with those guys in particular, the individuals themselves, but the coaches that they've had and the organization itself has done done really well. They poured a lot into these guys, and it's being rewarded.
Absolutely. What are your thoughts going into Game 4? Do you see any chance of a Mavericks comeback, or do you think they don't want to make that extra trip to Boston for a Game 5 for the Celtics to celebrate on their home court if they can win that one? What do you guys think is going to happen in Game 4?
Dallas has a lot of pride. They're at home, and no team wants to be swept in any playoff series, in particular the finals. So I expect Dallas to come out with a lot of energy like they did today, and just try to figure out how they can win one game. Now, with that said, if they get down by 20 points in the fourth quarter like they did today, I don't know if you'll see the same comeback in the fourth quarter from them, because to your point, they may not want to get on that plane. But I expect them to really battle hard. But again, the Celtics, the growth and maturity I see in this team, I still see them coming out and figuring out a way to close this thing out and not play around with it any longer.
Scott, I'm gonna go back to my playing days. When you're up 3-0, you have to. The hardest game is how to close out a team.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a team like this and you have them on the ropes,
Mm-hmm.
we would always do the following. We would win the first quarter.
Right.
Because you want to put doubt and say the following. Do you really want to work this hard to win this game?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we would play so hard in the first quarter to win that first quarter. And then after we won that first quarter, then you want to get up 10 to make sure that they really want to expend that type of energy
right.
to win the game. And then if you're up 10 in the second half, you just want to see that look that says, no, I'm not getting back on that plane.
Exactly.
Okay. So if I were the Celtics right now, because this is always a journey, you learn along the path. Because, Scott, you and I have seen weirder things happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got a team on the ropes and you let them off the hook.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what I thought was going to happen tonight in the fourth quarter.
Win that first quarter. Like I want to see Coach Mazzulla in that first quarter acting as if it's game 7. Because you want to put self-doubt. Because now the clock, the longer the score is close and it keeps going during the game, that pressure just builds on that team that's down.
Right.
That's down 0-3. So I think both they have a chance. I think it's looking good for them. However, Scott is right. You don't get to the NBA Finals without some level of pride. They don't want to get swept. But clearly the Celtics look like the better team right now.
Yeah.
Well, come on.
And Mo,
but it doesn't mean anything, Scott, to Mo, because he picked the Dallas Mavericks to sweep the Celtics.
Yeah, I'm picking them in 7 because you know how it is.
Yeah, see,
you know the vibes, Mo.
Yeah. And Mo's got this secret recording. You remember he told us. Well, I got.
Yeah.
Who I really picked. But sometimes, Mo, you know how it is in media. You've been in media much longer than I have. Nothing as big as that initial story, that initial surge. So you came out on this podcast, Mavericks in 4.
Yes, I did.
Fan base, that's maybe all everybody's gonna remember.
Scott, if you've been listening to this show, throughout the year, you'll know it could be a Wednesday night against the Detroit Pistons in November, and I'll pick the Pistons to win. It could be a Thursday night in January against Washington Wizards, and I pick the Wizards to win. What I will say is, the vibes.
and ladies and gentlemen, and when they do lose those games, Mo is going to call. I told you. See, I told you.
Exactly.
Mo is 82-0, by the way. I just like
exactly. But Mo's undefeated.
Exactly. Yeah. In the words of LeVar Ball, never lost. Never lost. But we'll see what happens. I mean, there's still another game to go, and anything can happen. It's the NBA. We've seen crazy things happen before. We can see crazy things happen again.
But no one's come back from 0-3 yet, so this would be a first.
I don't like how it says "yet" in that sentence. That makes me nervous.
Well, no, that's a factual statement. No one has done it yet.
They have in other sports though.
Yeah, baseball, right?
Baseball. That's not a real sport anyway, so I don't.
That's
just cricket for Americans.
Mo.
No. We don't get me started on baseball.
All right.
We ain't gonna do that.
Okay. Well, okay.
But yeah,
Game 4?
game 4, Friday night.
Mhm.
I've canceled my plans for Friday night so I can be locked in.
Okay.
And we'll be right here with you after the game. Either I will be losing my mind completely, or I'll be losing my mind completely. You see how that works? You see how that works?
I see how that works. Exactly.
But you will be out of your mind.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah. Make sure you guys subscribe to the show, YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Shout out to all the new listeners who have found us through Instagram, social media. You guys have been showing us mad love on there. Thank you to everyone who shares our posts, who comments, likes, and engages with them. It really does help grow the show. A lot of people have reached out to me asking how they can help us grow this podcast and grow what we do. All I can ask to you is keep telling your friends who like basketball to tune in, keep sharing it on your social media, and just keep supporting. If you haven't yet, leave us a review on the Apple Podcast chart or the Apple Podcast app or the Spotify app, 5 stars and all that good stuff, because that really helps us grow the show. So I appreciate each and every one of you who tunes in. Scott and BJ, I appreciate you both.
Thank you, Scott, thank you, Scott, for
Scott's been with us the whole finals, man. I'm
Scott's been with, I've been out here traveling around. Scott has been unbelievable. He's been unbelievable.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm enjoying it. I appreciate you guys having me on, man. This has been fun, a lot of fun, and more fun ahead.
Hell yeah.
Friday night.
Shout out to Coach Sir, shout out to CT who have been with us this season as well. We're gonna have to get the whole band together at some point.
Absolutely.
Maybe we do it on Friday night, depending on how the game goes.
Exactly.
I might have them on standby.
Yeah, exactly. Mo, you gonna find out what bottles of champagne they got in the locker room just in case. Exactly.
Mo's gonna do something crazy. Mo might come on Friday night with goggles on or something. He's gonna do something crazy. I can already see it. He's cook. I know him now. Oh gosh. Hey man, Scott's gotta go to bed, man. Hey, we gotta go to bed. He's on the East Coast over there, man.
Exactly.
They're still in the box.
See,
I've been waiting. I've been waiting for a long time. Look. They still wrapped up. You may see them. You may see them on Friday's show. Maybe not. Who knows? I'm ready. But I appreciate you, fellas. I don't want to get ahead of myself. The job's not finished, in the words of the great Kobe Bryant. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate everyone who tunes in. And until next time, you guys know what it is. Get buckets.